and we've got Lucio. And this was the game where you felt like, hey, you weren't being particularly effective, or this was a game where you felt like you were being effective?
Yeah, let's say if you see the first part, I'm just dying,
Okay.
and then I'm doing some good things, but in general, it's like there's no flow to the game. It's
Okay.
just like improvisation, and so there's no really any strategic,
Okay.
approach from my end.
Okay. Well, let's see what we've got here, and then we can talk a little bit about how you need to be thinking about it. Okay. So you're here. You got him here. This is unfortunate. You guys just need to leave, but they're not leaving for you. Like, we can see that you guys just lost 3 teammates. There's absolutely no way that you're going to win this fight. Like, it's just not going to happen, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly what happened.
So you're just here, you're just farming some shots, maybe farming some ult charge, want to make sure you get out alive. Nope, you're getting eliminated with everyone else, and you're getting staggered, but your Reinhardt was always going to get staggered after you. So not the end of the world. You have no ability to control that your teammates, the 3 teammates ahead of you got eliminated there. We're not too worried. We're speeding to get back here. Now we're going to swap to heals. Okay, so you tried to save him with amp heals there. I get it. It happens. We're just going to have to basically wait this out for him to come back. You as Lucio, once he's respawned, will potentially want to go get him, want to taxi him, or we could do this. I'm shocked that that Pharaoh already has barrage. Oh, I guess it has been 50 seconds. Okay. But in a bronze game, that does surprise me. Okay. Still not super worried about this. I mean, this is the team pushing in when you're down people, right? Like, you know that your soldier's not here, and you guys walked into a Pharaoh's space while your soldier was already eliminated. That's what's going to happen. Like, we're trying to get our 6v6 battles, or better if we can. So here you are. And you can go do this, but one of the ways that you can encourage the 6v6 battles to happen is, I don't care about your Reinhardt. Like, your Reinhardt getting here early with speed isn't really helping you, because your Reinhardt getting here faster, you still don't want this fight. Like, if you remember how this game works, we go, hey, my Reinhardt getting here faster doesn't really help me. What I actually want to do is I want to go over here and get these guys back faster. I want to go on speed, and I want to bring the stragglers up faster so that we can actually get a real team fight sooner. Like, I shouldn't be helping my Rhine right now. If he's up here, he's being foolish, and I'm not going to be able to bail him out because there's going to be 6 people. I need to instead go, I actually would prefer to slow down my Reinhardt if I could, so that the rest of my team gets here. And I can't slow him down. The closest I can do to slowing him down is go bring my speed aura over here instead to get the rest of my team back faster, so we're more likely to actually get that 6v6. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, speed isn't really helping you here. You don't want your Reinhardt to push. You're missing health. You want to be on heals. Okay, so your Reinhardt is just going to chain feed. This is unfortunate. There's not a ton you can do about that, but you can see your Reinhardt has repeatedly gone in and just tried to charge. There's very little you can do about that other than try to sync the rest of your team's timing to when he's feeding. So you get as many of your teammates as you can to be here, and you try to go, okay, all 5 of us are just going to wait, and we're going to push when our Reinhardt does his silly aggressive push. Our Reinhardt is not going to sync to our aggression, so we're going to try to sync everyone else's aggression to him. And if you have multiple people on your team that are just not going to sync to the team, you just try to sync as many of your teammates to them as you can. And one of the best ways to do that is to not let your Reinhardt get back there faster, not give him speed, but give other people speed to help them catch up, because they'll be closer on the follow-up. Yeah, so I can see what you're doing right now is you're going, hey, Reinhardt is a hero that I enable. It's a support that I'm supposed to help as Lucio. I'm sure we've talked about that, and that is true.
Yeah.
But this Reinhardt is in a
It's not worth.
6v2. Like, it's a 6v2. You can't help this. There's just no way. So you would much rather go, well, I would rather push with 5 without my Reinhardt. I'd rather push with 6 with my Reinhardt, but I'd rather push with 5 without my Reinhardt than go in here. You are for sure getting yourself in. You are for sure going to get eliminated like this, and your Reinhardt's going to get eliminated even if you help.
You said it.
All good. All good. It's just understanding how team fights work.
Yeah, let's move it, people. Let's get you healed up.
Okay. Okay. You don't have amp. You can do what you can. You can boost this out. You don't really need to frontline this. Okay. Okay. So you can look at this. You can look at this. Your hog is in low health. We don't really like that your hog is low health. You're going to amp heal that. Fine.
Heroes never die.
We would like, if we were good, if we were, if we were really comfortable with our wall riding, we would like to ride up here and maybe boop this Sombra back just to get her to stop farming at this off angle, like she was doing work up here on your team. And you have the option to go, I'm going to hop on this wall, hop across to this wall, and I'm going to maybe boop her down, or I'm going to boop her back. I'm going to keep her out of the fight a little bit. You don't want her just free farming your hog like she was there, but that's okay. And now hacking your Reinhardt. See, she's doing a lot of work, and you can actually go up there. You don't have to beat her. You just need to be annoying to her so that she can't do this work.
Justice reigns from above.
Okay.
But for instance, should I take this fight or should I back down?
Sure.
You know, I mean,
So let's back up here and go into sort of when this is happening. You're here. You're looking at this and going, hey, we're capping. This is fine. And then the Orisa shows up. So that's fine, except you're Lucio, and where's your nearest wall?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
or the columns on the left.
Sure,
whatever. I mean,
either
like, I'm in
one.
the middle.
But, like, you're kind of far from anything that you can wall ride off of, right? And wall riding is what makes you slippery. So we just didn't really want you in the middle of the point here. We wanted you more over here, more over here. Now you have to deal with the fact that Orisa potentially gets to shoot at you and gets to do damage to you without you being able to dodge her particularly well. Like, her weapon is better than yours. You need to take advantage of your mobility. You need to, and you really haven't. Like, you just skated in a sort of a zigzag towards her. You see what I'm saying? And now you're on the wall, but now it's sort of like, okay, she's done half your health more, really. She's forced your amp.
That's not right.
This was potentially fine. Like, I don't mind that you were on the point here because you were trying to force the cap. Yes, if you realized, hey, I lost my two friends that were here, you could have potentially gone, I'm going to try to leave, but you didn't really actually have that option at any point, right? Like, your Ash is up here. You're still fighting for this point. I don't need you to leave because you've still potentially got the chance. Like, your Ash is still in a really strong position to win this point, and this is a 2v2, and your Hog is going to be back as quickly as their Anna. So, like, then it'll be a 3v3. So you don't need to bail out of this fight. You lost in part because you positioned wrong. You were just hanging out on the middle of the point where you can't use Lucio's strengths.
Cease your resistance.
Time to accelerate.
So while we get to the normal spot, is there for every map like a suggested place where to stay? I mean, like, is there? I won't say there's a guide, but you know, for instance, is there? I'm thinking about Hanamura, other maps. It's like a suggested point where to camp or to put the barrier or anything. Are there guides about this, or there's never something like
Sort of,
best
yeah,
place?
but what happens is where you would set up. Do you mean as a team or as Lucio?
What?
Do you mean is there a place to set up as a team, or is there a place to set
I
up as
mean,
Lucio?
I mean as a team, because not today,
Sure.
but usually I'm playing with 4 to 5 friends.
Sure.
I mean, and if there's a best place, I can tell them, okay, that's the place because you told
Yeah,
me.
there are places that you tend to set up. The places, but it depends what comp you're playing and what comp you're playing into. Places that you will try to defend this point from. Generally, what'll happen is the defensive team will do a little bit of poke from up here. They won't seriously try to hold this. They'll fall back to here, and they'll end up holding, say, over here. Other places that get held, though, are you can just hold the high ground behind the point, and then have your front line drop to fight on the point. Sometimes you'll get splits where there's people here, people here. It depends on what comp you have and what comp the opponent has, because that changes how you can play. But the default that you sort of see for now would be you start doing some poke from here as the team starts to get close, you retreat, and you end up sort of playing back here. That's what you'll probably see at your level.
Okay.
If you were to go Hanamura, it's mostly the choke, and your Ryan's going to play from the defender's perspective to the right side of the choke. Your team is going to spread out a bit. You might have your flex fort over back left by the mini to the left of point. You might have like a soldier on sort of the balcony to the right from that choke's
Okay.
perspective, defensive
Okay.
saying. So, like, yeah, sort of, but it depends on the matchup.
Okay. Okay. Noted.
Okay, you're coming through here. Okay, so that's a self-destruct coming in, right? You know, do you recognize that voice line?
Yeah.
Okay, so amp is good, but we don't need to amp heals right now. If there's a self-destruct coming in, the best thing we can do is amp speed to try to help them run from the self-destruct, try to help them break line of sight. As soon as the self-destruct is over, now we finish what's left of our amp on heals here.
Oh, hey,
Okay.
And you want to think about that with Lucio. You want to think about, is there anything in this battle I need to be using amp for, maybe specifically? Like, amping heal stabilize can be valid, but on the other team are the things that you might need to amp to run away from. Well, you might need to amp your team to run away from a coalescence. You might try to amp your team to run away from an EMP. You might amp. Oh, sorry. You might amp your team to run away from a self-destruct. Those are all things that you might run away from. Like a Mayolt would be a good example of that, where you might want to hold your amp specifically for those. Or if you don't hold your amp specifically for those, you might at least be thinking, what am I going to swap to speed for? And self-destruct would be the most obvious thing that you'd swap to speed for against this team. And then you got EMP'd, which is unfortunate here. If you're ult tracking, no, you're not going to be tracking. That's fine. At some point, it will be your job to track that she has EMP. You're going to intentionally dodge the EMP. You're intentionally going to stay in a place where if she EMPs, she just gets you, or she gets you and one other person, or she gets your team. And then you speed yourself back into line of sight of your team, and then you beat to protect them while they're all hacked with beat. And you use beat to counter EMP. But that's okay. You're not there yet.
Oh, let's break it.
Okay. So you notice though how here you are, and you've sort of been. Where's your wall? Where's your wall? Where's your wall? Where's your wall? You're just skating in zigzags on the ground, right? And you're skating on zigzags on the ground, not even near, particularly close to a wall, so it's going to take you a moment to hop on a wall. This is the same issue we ran into against Orisa, and was part of why she beat us.
It's gonna make you feel better. Speed boost. Healing boost.
Okay, I don't like that you're walking. Here, I'll show you. Let's watch this with the sky cam. See how you're just hanging out in the middle here a bit? Like you sort of go this way, then you change your mind this way. We don't really want to do that. We're so fast if we hop on the walls. If we want to go this way, we just hop on the wall and go this way. And then we're over here with very minimal time in their line of sight. If we want to go the other way, we hop on this wall and ride the wall this way. Like skating through the middle here gives them more opportunity for Orisa to shoot at us, for Anna to shoot at us, for D.Va to shoot at us. And we just don't want to give them that, because even though they didn't get you this time, sometimes they will get you and they'll eliminate you. And that's bad. Not sure what you were booping there.
Time to heal up.
Kind of spammy shots. Like, I don't mind shooting at places that you think people might show up. But you do want to have some belief that they're going to show up there. Go ahead.
No, that's right. But that's something I'm doing since day one. That's probably something I must correct. I'm just spamming every time. So I think I'm shooting with 10-11%. That's the average of my precision. So
Okay.
because I'm just spamming.
Yeah, you want to shoot at places where opponents are or you think they might show up. Like, I don't mind if, say you're pushing forward, say you're defending, and you just go, say you're defending back here, and you just spam across this. You're just defending back here, and you just spam across this sight line, sort of right across this edge here. Well, you expect that the opponents might push up and walk into that. That's a reasonable expectation. Whereas back here, when your Reinhardt was here, there's not really much belief that spamming this direction is going to get you. You spamming into this wall is going to get you anything. That spamming into this wall is going to get you anything. Like, unless there just happens to be an invisible Sombra there, probably not going to do it. So it's okay to have low accuracy, but your low accuracy should be because you're spamming at places where people might show up and they're not. Like, there's a reasonable belief that they might show up. And if your belief is really reasonable, well, your accuracy will go up. But hey. Who's this heal for? You just hit amp heal, and I'm not sure what we're doing with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Push it on. This.
Okay. Good.
That was the sound of silence.
And you could amp speed right now. It's not super high value, but just to make sure that your team goes and gets this elimination. Now you can amp heal instead. Okay.
Let's up the tempo. Let's get patched up.
Yeah, so I don't mind spamming right now, but where you would be spamming isn't up here, unless you think a fair is going to appear there. It would be across here, because across here can catch people walking out of spawn, right? Like, we just want to be a little more conscious of where we're using our spam fill time here. So up there doesn't make a ton of sense. Down to the right by the balloons, you know, and actual at head level, so lower than the balloons, makes way more sense. So it would literally just be like we're spamming here. Even if the Mercy wasn't here, we'd be spamming effectively where the Mercy is.
Justice reigns from above.
That's it.
What's that?
No, I said I'm dead.
Yeah, yes you are, but that's okay. I'd have liked to see you look up and try to shoot at her, contribute your damage as you were trying to dodge her, but that's okay. Okay, you caught on. That's good.
Yeah, that's something you told me last time.
Heroes never die.
Oh, our Valk. That hurts. So again, anytime you see this self-destruct like this, we want to be on speed aura, and we want to strongly consider popping our amp, because it'll help us and our team get away from it.
Even here, you see, that's, I don't know if that's worth doing. I mean, I'm literally with no one off my team, so I don't know if attacking them from the back makes sense.
Not particularly. So here we are. Let's back up. Here's your team. Your team's pushing in. You're dodging the self-destruct, so I'm not going to knock it yet.
No, it should go right.
You should just check on what your team's doing. Like, you can see your teammates through walls. Turn around real quick while you were down here. Turn around real quick and see what your team is doing. Is your team actually pressing forward? Is your team actually pressing forward? Not really. Not yet. You've got a couple of them here. Reinhardt's maybe thinking about it. They're mostly going, hey, we're going to go do this. They're playing to enable their bastion. They're saying, hey, our bastion is going to clear the sky, going to clear high ground, and then they'll probably move forward and put their bastion here later, which will be great, but they're not going to push forward. Your Reinhardt's just going to defend the bastion right now. So you pushing up does not make sense because it's not enabling the team's play. You're going up here, and if you're just trying to get a little ult charge, maybe that's okay, but this isn't particularly good. You're going and taking a 1v2 deep in enemy space, and you weren't going to cap off of this. So, like, no, this doesn't make sense. Neither did booping that diva, to be perfectly honest. Now going over here makes more sense. Okay. But now you leave. It made sense while your Reinhardt was alive. And you'll boop him because he's trying to swing at you. Yep.
Push it on.
Justice reigns from above.
We'd like to be offering our aura to a little bit more, but that's okay. Okay. Probably speed to get away from him. He does 85 per swing, and we're not going to heal ourselves more than 85, per time he can swing. So we want speed to get away from him faster. Okay. There you go.
Oh,
Didn't see the Sombra on you. That's going to hurt. There's still a Sombra behind you. There's still a Sombra behind you. Yeah, you need to...
No, I'm not there anymore.
Yeah, I know. I know you're not there anymore, but like you need to go, "Whoa, wait, a Sombra just hacked me. That means there's something behind me."
Back off. Hey.
let's hustle. Check this out.
30 seconds remaining.
Get on the attack, or it's game over. You in? Use some help.
Uh-oh.
Get the payload moving. Pick up the pace.
Where's your team? Your team's all the way back here. You just took off without them again. You see what I'm saying? Remember, you've got that sweet, sweet speed to help your Hog and your Reinhardt catch up. And instead, you took off and are off doing things on your own down here. You're Lucio. You're an aura hero. And you're over here doing things by yourself. And you're doing things by yourself when your team isn't ready to also do things. Like your Ashe is doing something. That's kind of cool. If your Ashe is shooting from here, you're shooting from here. That's kind of cool. But you'd really prefer a 6v6.
No.
And now you're attacking from the same direction as your Ashe, which is not going to work. Speed? Why are we on heals in here?
We need to get the payload moving. Pick up the pace.
Okay, now you're full health. Okay. Again, you're an aura hero who's not really helping anyone right now. So, angles are cool, but if you could be up here with your Bastion, that would be cooler. If you could be, over here with your Hog, helping escort your Hog around to go on his flanks, that would be cooler. Okay.
Oh, let's break it. Damn.
I mean, okay. If we look at this, you're at half health, so it's a little scary to you, but you're the only one who's really in any danger here, and you're already up 2 in this fight. So I don't really love using beat in this fight, because you're already up to almost 3 people in this fight, and you already have tank mode going. I don't think you need this to win this fight. I'd rather have beat for next fight.
Push it on.
Unless the opponents invest more ult or, look like they're going to trade in the limb back, etc.
My ultimate is
Okay,
ready.
so I would pick one of these guys. If your team is going to hold the cart like they are with the Bastion, I would pick one of your teammates and just go escort them into position. You can go with Hog. Okay, Hog's going to swap, so maybe you go with Ashe, and you go, I'm going to ride up here with Ashe, and I'm going to offer her speed aura to get to where she wants to be, and then I'll just sit on heal aura while she does this, and maybe I'll poke while she pokes. And then if she gets in trouble, speed aura to pull her out to rejoin the team.
¿Qué onda? Hola. ¿Qué onda?
Mm-hmm. You're on heal aura, doing a poke phase, good. Okay, you see the Reinhardt, you're gonna shoot over at that.
60 seconds.
Heroes never die.
Okay, so you see how you're not really moving your crosshair very much when you're shooting these shots? Like, here's a burst, and you moved at the very end there. Let's get back to that sequence, because that sequence is a pretty good one for illustrating it. Okay, so here you are. You're just moving, with your A and D keys or whatever your equivalent is in terms of how you have your keys bound, but you're not actually adjusting your crosshair as you're firing the shots. You notice how when you fire this shot, it fires out multiple pellets. You can see there's multiple pellets that go out per shot here. And your opponents are almost certainly moving, right? Like they're moving, they're not standing still, just like you're moving, they're moving. So what you actually want to do is you actually need to, even mid-shot, be adjusting where you're aiming. So if you're aiming the first pellet at where Sigma is or where Sigma is going to be, you then expect Sigma to say retreat to his left towards cover. So what you'd actually do is, even as you're firing the shot, not between shots, but as you're firing the shot, you're dragging your camera to the right a little bit, you're dragging your crosshair to the right a little bit, because you expect him to move a little bit to get hit by multiple shots. Lucio's weapon is very hard to use, but that's because it does, the multi-shot burst there, and if you're not trying to hit with one shot of the burst, you're trying to hit with, 3, 4 shots of the burst. That would be so much better. So you need to sort of drag the weapon in the direction that you think they're going to go. You need to predict their movement a bit. Are they going to move towards cover? Okay, maybe I drag my crosshair to the right as I'm firing the shot so that the second, the third, the fourth pellet go out further to the right, because he'll be moving to the left by the time that they get there. Or I think he's going to be walking towards us, so maybe I bring my crosshair, down, or he's going to be backing up. Maybe I bring my crosshair, up a hill. Maybe I bring my crosshair up a little as he's going up this. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not just a straight right. If he was on the hill, it would be a diagonal right up like that. Does that sort of make sense?
No, no, definitely, definitely. But what's the best way to train this? I mean, it's just playing, or are there like scenarios, custom game to do it? I mean, because
There are custom games to do it, and there's also deathmatch. Both of those things exist and are useful, but I actually start smaller than that. I want to make sure that you have full crosshair control, so I really do. I know this is super old school, but I really do recommend starting with making sure that you can flick onto specific things. So say you're here, and say you want to aim at the top of this vase. Okay? So here you are, and you move your hit camera over here, and then you flick, and you try to flick your crosshair right onto the top of the vase. And then you move your camera over there and you try to flick right onto the top of the vase. And you move over here and you try to, in one motion, flick onto the top of the vase. And if you miss, you overflick, you immediately try to reflick with a correction flick onto the top of the vase. And then you move here and you flick right back to the top of the vase. And you do this from different directions. And if you find you're not hitting it perfectly, and it's hard for me to illustrate in this mode because I don't have a crosshair that I can use right now, if you're not hitting it perfectly, you keep practicing it and you keep doing it from different angles. And that is literally just to make sure that you have the crosshair control to move it to where you want to on a stationary target. But that's like one specific piece of your aiming skill. So that is something that is easier than getting your aim down in deathmatch. Like, you could think of that as one of your components of aiming that you need to make sure you can do. You need to be able to flick to what you want to hit, right? Because that's sort of the first part of your aiming. And that would be one thing that you can work on for your aim. Another component that you're going to work on for your aim is going to be, hey, I want to be spamming these places, and I want to be resting my crosshair in places where enemies are likely to show up. So I don't want to aim my crosshair up over there. I want to aim my crosshair over there. I want to aim my crosshair over there, where an enemy is likely to show up. And those are two different components of your aim that you could consistently be working on before you get to, well, I just want a lot of reps, and I will get more reps in deathmatch than I will playing the game, because playing the game has team fights, has time and spawn, has 10-second rather than 2-second respawn times, has these organized team fights. So after you've done a lot of work on those two, you could go do a bunch of, the deathmatch there. And you can work on it by component piece like that. In terms of specific workshop codes, there's websites that have them, sure, but I would really say break it down to the specific components like I just described here and go practice this. And sometimes even while you're just waiting for a match to start and you're back in, I'll go to the spawn room just because it's here, and you're in spawn room just waiting for the match to start, let me flick to the center of the torch, okay? Let me flick to the top of that, the up arrow. Okay, let me flick to the up arrow, okay? Let me flick to the up arrow. Let me flick from the up arrow to the torch, etc. Okay?
yeah, it makes sense. Yeah,
Cool.
that's
Up the tempo. Yeah, time to heal up.
Helden sterben nicht.
Yeah, like those shots, like, those aren't aimed at Mercy.
That's not right.
Rains from above.
Push off.
Almost. Okay. Gonna rejoin your team. I don't love this amp, and the reason I don't love this amp,
Push off.
you hit amp, And, you know, you were missing some health, so maybe that makes sense. But you want to go back and join your team to give your team the value of this amp, right? Like, unless you're going to do something with this amp, if you're going to switch this amp to speed and go chase the Sigma, maybe. But if you're just healing yourself here, you're not really doing anything. I want you to rejoin your team to give your team the value of this amped aura that you just activated.
Dein Teufel ist da.
And these are, you're just forcing yourself to reload later here.
Raising the volume.
Okay.
10 seconds remaining.
Don't give up. Still win this.
Fine, but you have to reload still. Okay. Just keep going here.
Yep.
Initiating match. Ready for battle. Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
We shall prove ourselves in glorious combat.
Yeah, I'm just waiting here to see where they
Sure.
setting up.
Well, you're Lucio. You can... Oh, to see where your team is setting up. Yeah, and your team is going to start here, and they're almost always going to fade back to here. So you can start here on heal aura just because it's poke phase, and once your team is ready to actually retreat, you can swap back to speed aura to move them. So that's fine.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Oh boy.
Defend objective A.
Healing boost.
It's not like you can't wall ride back up, but it's just kind of funny. Okay, your team might try and hold this for real because they have a bastion, which is maybe unfortunate, but hey. So this is, again, one of those times where you would sort of start with your crosshair where Diva is, and you'd consider either dragging it down because you think they're going to walk forward, or you might consider dragging it to the right or sort of a down to the right because you expect them to sort of advance on you. You get what I'm saying? Cool.
Yeah.
Time to read my APS.
He's through.
Okay, but this is an unfortunate amp because really everyone's health is fine. Speed is probably better for you guys to chase her down. Okay.
Nothing's
Speed
gonna
is
stop
definitely better to get you back to your teammates so you can then heal.
me. Oh, this is my jam.
Get them off.
Solid enough. Oop, good.
Feel the healing beat.
Eyes on the bad guys.
Heal aura is fine. I don't necessarily like you standing still, especially while reloading there.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Good. Glad you saw it.
Yeah, because I never review my games. I'm never, I never watch them for a second time. So
Okay.
I already see many things you're telling me.
Good.
I mean, I'm nowhere as good as you, but I'm just trying to. Sometimes, why am I doing something so stupid?
Sure. No, it's good that you can see them. And you can work some self-VOD review into your improvement schedule if you like. Obviously, I can do reviews with you and we'll continue doing reviews with you. But you can work some self-VOD review. Even if it's, I'm not saying review every game, but even if it's like, hey, I play for a day, I do a session for a day, I played 4, 5, 6 games, whatever. Maybe you try to get one of those games reviewed in there or something like that. Or maybe once a week you try to review one of your games, even if you review it at an accelerated pace or just do half a round. That can help a little. It can also help you see, am I actually improving on what I'm supposed to be improving on? Because you can look for that specifically.
Heroes never die. Watch out for the one to see.
Okay. Crosshair's a little low right now. You do want to be trying to hit headshots. You see how you're sort of keeping your crosshair at like ankle or shin level. So we would pop speed here because we'd just like our team to leave, right? Like we don't want to fight through this Moira ult.
Raising the volume.
Instead, you're doing heals, and if your team won't leave, heals is correct. So I don't necessarily mind popping amp, but I'd have leaned into speed there.
And that's something you told me also last time. To speed whenever I see an ulti, every time, you know, whether it's ours or theirs.
Right.
That's something you told me. But what I found sometimes that doesn't justify what I'm doing. Most of the people, when I just speed, they just stay there.
Yep.
And at the end of the fight, they say, "Okay, where were healers? Why no one healed us?" But you know, the idea was to speed to have them run away. Not
So it's tough. It's definitely tough because your teammates won't use your speed how you want them to. The optimal way is to speed them out, but they're not always going to actually move. So what you actually do is you can pop your amp, but then you're going to determine whether you put it on heals or speed based on if they actually start moving or not. Does that sort of make sense? Like the correct thing is for them to speed them out of most of these things. But if they're just going to plant in place, well, okay, I'm going to amp heals. It's going to be really tough for amp heals to actually, help us win this fight. Amp speed would be way better, but if they're not moving, speeding someone who isn't moving isn't helping. And you can watch your own allies and see how they're moving. Like, you're a support, so you pay attention to your allies, and you just go, I'm amping because I expect you to move. You're not moving, I guess I'm amping heals. One of you is moving and two of you are standing still. I'm probably going to amp speed for the one of you that's moving. But that can be an extra little check there if that helps because that can help in bronze and silver because teammates are not going to use your speed correctly. So that doesn't mean just accept it and amp heal. It instead means you tie what you're on, speed or heal, to whether they're moving or not. And you accept that speed is better, but if they're not moving, I'm gonna have to accept heal. Howie. You are harder to hit if you're on a wall there, but that's really too many things at once. So, especially while you're still working on your aim, I'm not going to worry too much about being on the wall there.
Almost never riding, never.
And yet wall riding is great. So this is a bad re-engage because even if you could have touched, was your team going to follow in on this? I don't feel like your team was going to follow in on this. I don't feel like you were, even if you touched with like an instant before and it hadn't capped, how long were you going to survive against 6 people? You see what I'm saying? Was it going to be enough for your team to get here? Yeah. So really you're just staggering yourself, which means now your team is going to have to wait on you. And if they don't, they're going to stagger themselves more. And then you're going to have to wait on them. And if you don't, you're not going to get real team fights. Yeah.
This is gonna make you feel better.
Leave. Ooh.
Yeah, but at a certain point there, Anzo went bonkers. So he was just killing everyone with that shot.
Oh yeah, that'll happen. That storm arrow's pretty good. Okay.
I think I chose the wrong target.
You did. So, we can look here. I mean, the cool thing about D.Va is she's a pretty easy target to hit, so you'll get good ult charge, but the right target for you actually was this Reaper, because you want to boop this Reaper away. This Reaper is really effective at close range and gets less effective when he gets further away, because he's using shotguns. Now, his range is pretty good now because of changes that they've made, but generally your thought would be, hey, there's this Reaper here. He's not stunned anymore. He's not about to get eliminated. Let me just boop him away to make him contribute less to this fight, to make him have to walk back to this fight. That would have been the highest impact thing for you to do.
Push
Yeah, so that Moira was still following you, and you were going over there and picking a fight with the Hanzo. You shoot at the Moira you shoot at her to keep her honest as she's chasing you. Okay.
Yeah, let's pick it up.
The payload has reached
Check
the
this
chip.
out. Oh, this is my jam.
Yeah, I think I'm dying again now.
You're staggering yourself again, yeah. But there just wasn't a good situation, a great reason to even be in this fight. Like, here you are, you're coming out, you're looking at this, and you're going, yeah, I'm gonna go help. Wait a second. What can you really help with here? This fight is pretty over, isn't it?
Yep.
So you're looking to get stops as 6. You're looking to try to take stops as 6. And if your team won't let you, because maybe your Reinhardt's a feeder or whatever, you try to take stops as 5, or you try to sync the 5 of you to the feeder. And if, there's 2 feeders, you still try to sync around one of the feeders.
This will heal you. Yeah, let's move it, people.
Because you're just so much more likely to win a 6v6 than a 5v6. And you're so much more likely to win a 5v6 than a 4v6.
Heal up.
Heroes never die.
You feel that?
Okay, so you see there's a Reaper over there. Do you hear the Reaper over here? This is you kind of want to think about marking Reapers because you can constantly sort of boop them out and keep them somewhat ineffective. So sort of think about that. And he's also on the off angle, which you'd like to clear. Okay, that's valid. Okay, but this heal is probably less for you and more you're thinking it's for your monkey or maybe your Ashe. So what you'd really like to do is sort of go, hey, I'm going to use speed to get up to here where the healing is useful. Like you need to use speed to get in range to heal sometimes. Because your monkey's probably not getting healed. No, definitely not getting healed. Your Ashe would like some healing. Are you going to check on her? No, she pressed her healing button and you didn't go check on her to see if she needed heals. Okay. Okay.
This is gonna make you feel better.
Okay, so you just heard the Reaper teleport, and that's one of your jobs to go peel Reapers. So you'd like to look behind you and see, can I see where he went? Oh boy. Yeah.
You heard it.
And you don't have to beat the Reaper, you just have to keep him ineffective. As Lucio, your job a lot of the time is to make other people's jobs harder or make your teammate's job easier, not necessarily to go win a lot of 1v1s.
I am loving this. Let's get you healed up. Damn, I'm a hole. Up the top. Oh, let's break it. Damn.
Okay, but again, we should have been on speed for this self-destruct.
Heroes never die.
He's so close. He's so close to giving you an opportunity to go off the edge. And you saw him charge over here so that you didn't check to see, can I boop him off the edge? Hurts my soul a little bit, but that's okay. My soul will just have to be hurt.
Oh, turn it up.
So you know there's stuff over there, and if you wanted to help your team because you saw people retreated this way, you could have popped on speed, hopped over here, hopped onto this wall, looped up, and actually booped these guys back into the sight line for your team to shoot at. That would have been a more aggressive Lucio play. If they start shooting back at you, you don't have a wall and you don't have cover. So this should feel pretty uncomfortable. You should want to either have cover, or at the very least a wall that you're near that you can hop on to make yourself a more evasive target. Speed, 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 speed. Okay.
This is gonna make you feel better. You feel that?
Good amp.
Push on.
Nice save. Amp and 2, make sure you survive till then. There's your amp.
Push on. I feel it.
60 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move it, people.
You know, the thing is, many of the things you're telling me, like, you know, that would have been a more aggressive Lucio plays. I'm just doing things as they come. I don't know if you understand what I mean. I mean, like, I'm just playing. I say, okay, now I should do this, now I should do that. But there's not like I'm really thinking about what's the best plan of action. I'm just shooting because I feel that shooting is the best thing to do. But I'm not really thinking how to, okay, the opponents are going there. Now I should bring them back. So it's not. It's just like playing without brain. I don't know if I give you the idea of what I mean. You know,
I
like
think
it's just
so. I
okay.
think so. You're just sort of going, hey, I play. You're not thinking about the next step. You're not thinking about any of this. So you do want to free up some tactical brain space to think about what can I do. Like that is a thing that you want to do. But one of the things that we can do is we just set sort of markers of, oh, I know that this is a thing that I can do. And once you've realized that this is a thing that you can do, that I can go do this, you're potentially going to go, hey, I've done this once or twice and it felt really high impact because we got the eliminations and I can tell I served up those eliminations. You're going to more actively look for are there places I can get it. Like, I get what you're saying in terms of you're playing without, really thinking about the next step. And I would encourage you to try to think more proactively, but I'm not sure you have the tools yet to know all the things that Lucio can do. So I think it's sort of a like, it helps to see some of the things or be told some of the things that he can do, and then get told, hey, I'd like you to try to go do this specifically, and then you specifically spend some of your brain power looking for that thing to go do, and then you go do it and you go, hey, this is great, or you go do it and go, hey, this didn't work as well, but I know it can be great, and then it sort of gets easier to like we do want you to be actively thinking about the game, but we're also trying to train you in such a way that, how do I best phrase this? Yes, we want you actively thinking about the game, but we want you to train you in such a way that it actually doesn't take much thought to go do some of these things because you've already habitualized doing some of these things. Does that fit in your
Yeah.
mind?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Speed, speed.
Heroes never die.
My ultimate is
Like we want to
almost ready.
habitualize the dragon's coming out. I'm on speed. Like it just happens unless you mentally override it yourself. You just automatically swap to speed.
Oh, this is my jam.
Okay, so you're amping heals here. I think this is primarily for yourself, but you have ults going. You have Valkyrie and tank going. Those are both aggressive ults that you want to be amping speed during. Like amping speed, the job of amping speed when it's your own ults is to make sure that those ults do in fact get value, that you guys can't get kited. And right now, you're not really helping make sure your team doesn't get kited.
Let's get you back in the fight.
Oh, let's break it. Damn!
Okay.
Oh, turn it up.
This will protect us.
Okay. So,
Victor.
looking at this, the things that I want you to work on, the thing that I most think I want you to work on right now is going to be being conscious about your shooting. So, like, we'll work about your consciousness of other aspects of playing, but being conscious about shooting. And I specifically want you to be dragging your shots based on where you think your opponents are going to move. And that's actually going to make you think about the game and what you expect to happen next at a micro level, which is going to lead to a macro level a little bit. So, like, if you're going, hey, I'm shooting at this Reinhardt, I expect this Reinhardt to walk down the ramp. Maybe I just shoot straight at him because I expect he's just going to walk forward. But maybe I expect once he gets another step closer, I need to drag down a little because he's going to walk down the ramp. Or maybe I expect he's going to go a little more, take a step here because he's showing aspects that he likes to swing wider like that. So I'm going to drag my crosshair like that. I'm not just spamming mindlessly. I'm shooting where I think people are going to go, and I'm dragging my crosshair. And I'm also spamming places I expect people to show up. Like I'm spamming through here. I'm not shooting up over there. I'm spamming through here because that's where they'd come from. Or if
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm spamming this corner. Or, maybe I am worried about a Sombra. So maybe I'm throwing some shots behind me in a spread because I'm worried about an invisible Sombra that we haven't seen in a little bit. Something like that. Or, like I have reason to be worried about the Ash that, I have reason to be worried that Reaper just TP'd up here and I'm here, so I'm actually going to shoot this angle even though there's not a Reaper here because I think he TP'd to here and might walk here, or maybe he TP'd to here and might walk here, and I'm going to guess and do my spamming there. So I want you to be thinking about your gunplay a lot harder. Like I want that to be your main focus, and that is not going to be a 5 game thing. That is going to be like a 30, 50, 100 game thing where you're really thinking about your weapon play there. But I also want you to be working on some of the crosshair placement is part of that, but your ability to flick will help with that. But really what I'm looking for is the thought that goes into it, because it is going to make you get more damage, it is going to improve your accuracy, it is going to
Mhm.
get you more ult charge, but it's also going to make you it's going to force you to think about what are my opponents doing and what are they trying to do a little bit more. You with me?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's like a big topic that we talk about here. Like that's a big topic and it's going to be a lot of work for you to work on, but it's going to help you mechanically, which is great. And it's also going to, it's going to, I think, be the right next step for you in terms of enabling you to be a more active thinker while you're playing the game, which is useful. The other thing that we could work on is we definitely saw at the beginning that there was more room to go, hey, I need to recognize when I'm actually playing with my team and when I'm not. Back on first point, when you and Reinhardt went in on your own, over here, when you went in and it was just you and Ash and your opponent, you do need to do a better job of tracking how many teammates there are and still correcting it with your speed or and such to bring more opponents or to bring more friends. And again, you're not always going to
Yeah.
get the perfect thing, but that's the thing. And I know we've talked about that before, but you guys got held up for like, a couple minutes on first before that was a thing. You got held up for a couple minutes here on second without you quite piecing that together. So I am going to continue to hit on it. And I am also going to continue to hit on, hey, when they're using those ults like Dragon, you want to use speed. If you have to swap back to heals, so be it. That's fine. But you want to go, or if you start on heals and then as soon as they move, you swap to speed, great. But I want you doing that, and that's going to require more watching of what are my teammates doing specifically when the ult is incoming, when the engage is coming. Like I could heal my Reinhardt that's getting swung up by the other Rein, but if my Reinhardt is actually stepping backwards, I would rather speed him to help him get out faster. So that's going to be a more active watching of your teammates. So I'm asking you to more actively watch your opponents and more actively watch your teammates. So I'm putting a lot on you, but I'm not asking you to do both at the same time. Do both of those sort of fit in a way that makes sense to you? I know there's some pretty big concepts. Do you think those are digestible, bite size enough for you?
No, definitely, definitely. I mean, like, if I tell you how many games I played,
Hmm.
in this season, it's probably 400, something like that.
Okay.
Okay, so seeing that I'm still not, getting all these things is it's quite a letdown. Maybe it's normal, but I'm not progressing as much as I want. That's
Sure.
why I told you, if we can maybe schedule. I mean, we can talk in next few days.
Yeah.
Something I won't say weekly, but every 10 days, or even really every week, because
Yeah.
I just don't like not being good. I'm never gonna be a grandmaster, that's for sure. I'm never gonna be a pro, but stagnating in bronze, I just find it a bit
Sure,
humiliating,
no,
actually.
no, I totally understand. We can help make you better. That's not going to be a problem. So we can definitely schedule these on a weekly basis. We can either just go, hey, let's do this time slot repeatedly, or after we're done with this session in Discord messages, we can figure something out that does work. But I'm perfectly happy to make this a weekly thing with you.
Okay, no, no, I would love to do that, mate. I would
Perfect,
love, definitely.
perfect. That's great. Okay. Do you
Okay.
have any other questions? Anything you want to get into here?
No, I think I'm just quite. There's just something very quick. We mostly discussed even last time about the Lucio to Reynard, like
Mm-hmm.
relationship, and how is my role changing in the game if there's no Reynard? I'm still gonna stay
Sure.
with Sigma or with Ryza, or it should change completely. I should maybe stay with DPS. So
Uh,
how that
It
changes?
changes. It changes in a couple ways. So, like, if there's not a Reinhardt, there's other things that are pretty high priority to you. Like I was talking about, knocking back the Reaper is pretty high priority to you, right? Like that was the
Mm,
thing that I was talking about. Escorting your Roadhog into an aggressive angle where he can do something can be pretty high priority. When your Ashe was taking an aggressive angle, going and helping her take that more quickly can be useful. If you have a Zarya after a one fight, say you guys just won a fight and your Zarya is pushing up to try to get more ult charge and try to maintain energy, pocketing your Zarya with speed so that she can stay in to the last possible moment to keep farming energy before she gets out is pretty high priority. Um,
okay.
or the other thing that's really high on your list is you have another support. Right now, your other support is Mercy, and you guys are actually running double main supports, and main supports don't need much peel. This isn't a great support combination, but usually your partner is going to be like a Zen or maybe a BAP or maybe an Anna. And supports like those, they have a much tougher time taking care of themselves. Things will show up, Winstons, Tracers, Genjis, things like that, that'll bully them a bit. And it's very, very high priority for you to help protect them against those threats that show up when
Okay.
you've got these support partners. So I think I just gave you, a little bit of a list of things that you can go do that are still very useful. And I would emphasize this protecting your support partner when it's one of these more vulnerable supports, because these vulnerable supports will do a lot of work if they're allowed to stay on the field, but they're more vulnerable than, say, you or a Mercy.
Okay. 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 No, that's important. There was something I said, because whenever I didn't saw a Reynard, I said, now what I'm supposed to do, because I didn't,
Sure,
you
sure.
know,
And
it,
your first
it's not.
downshift is protect your other support.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's great. No. Well, I think that's enough for me for today. There's a lot of thing, and most important is not to be dragged too down when things are not going properly, because
Absolutely.
usually if I lose 3 or 4 games, then my first thought is just, okay, it's better to end it up for today, because it's
It
it's not
is.
gonna work.
It is, but you do want your focus while playing to be on working on something that you're trying to improve on, like dragging your shots correctly. If that's the focus, you can go a little bit longer. I still, after 3 or 4 losses, would go, okay, time to pull the plug, because you're just going to get frustrated, and that's not super conducive of improvement. But you don't want to tie up like you're worth too much in, did I win this individual game? We're interested in improving, and that'll shoot us up as a side effect. Shoot us up,
Okay.
the
Okay.
ranks. Okay.
Okay. So very last question, but that's very
Sure.
short. I mean, I'm 100 plus. I mean, 120, 130 hours in the game. I mean,
Yep.
when do people in normal start getting good? I mean, like before then, at 200 marks. I mean, what's the average of your
So
student?
it's not super meaningful, because, well, first off, a
Yeah.
lot of my students have been playing the game for like 4 years and then go get serious, or have been came from console and then go get serious, or a lot of my students are already in GM Pro, etc. So like my students are all over the place. 100 hours is not a lot of time. You have to remember that people have been playing this game for 4 or 5 years at this point, and what's bronze now probably would have been gold when the game released, but the whole ladder has gotten better. And because the ladder still does a distribution and wants to have the right percentages of people everywhere, a bronze today probably would have been gold in most cases when the game first came out. Just like diamond today probably would have been GM when the game came out. Like in terms of their actual skill relative to what the skill was when the game came out. So you're competing against people that have thousands of more hours than you. Like you see this, you're level 124 on your character. I can see that here. And that's not very high. Like I'd imagine in most lobbies that you look at, most people either have more bronze stars than you or
Yeah,
have a different
definitely,
color
definitely.
border, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
you're competing against people who have played this game a lot more than you.
Okay, okay. Good to know. I mean, like, that's a partial, I can say, satisfaction.
Sure. Sure. And even
Yeah,
some of the people who have less stars than you, they're on a fresh account, but they've been playing a lot before.
yeah, yeah. That's what I thought, because I mean, otherwise they won't be hitting headshots. Like
Probably.
like. Okay. Okay. No. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
No
I should
problem.
have done this session at least 2 weeks ago.
It's
I'll
all
try to
good.
be I'll try to be way more consistent, and thanks again. Thanks again. That's a lot of help.
No problem. Good luck to you, man, and I'll talk to you again soon. We'll have another session soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely. Looking forward to that. Ciao. Bye bye.
Me too. Bye.